Someone disappears from your life. No explanation. No goodbye. Just gone. And you're left wondering, what did I do wrong? But here's the truth. Their silence isn't apathy. It's a mirror. And what it reflects is darker than you think. Ghosting isn't new. But what you've been told about it, that it's just rudeness or cowardice, that's a lie. Ghosting is a psychological defense mechanism. It hijacks your nervous system into telling one story: you weren't worth an answer. But that's not the truth. That's the illusion. And we're going to dismantle it, piece by piece. It starts small, a delayed reply. Then nothing. No confrontation, no closure, just an absence that expands like a black hole. And your mind fills the void with doubt. Was it me? Was I too much? Or worse, not enough? You replay every moment, begging the past to make sense of the silence. And in that spiral, something devastating happens. You stop asking why they left and start asking what you did to deserve it. But that's not your voice. That's a trauma echo. Ghosting registers in your body as rejection, exile, abandonment. It's not just emotional pain. It's survival terror disguised as shame. But the pain of being ghosted isn't the absence. It's the story you create to survive it. And that story, it's almost always wrong. Because the truth is, ghosting says more about them than it ever will about you. And to understand why, we need to go deeper. Carl Jung wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But what about those who don't irritate us? Because they vanish before we can even understand them." Ghosting is not disappearance. It's avoidance of the shadow, their shadow, yours. They ghost not to hurt you, but to escape themselves. Your presence reflects accountability, intimacy, truth, and that's unbearable to someone emotionally immature. Because here's what most people never learned: how to regulate discomfort, how to sit in conflict, how to close doors with honesty. So they run. And the worst part, ghosting isn't passive, it's calculated, a power move cloaked in silence. Because when they vanish, you're left holding the confusion. It's not just rejection, it's erasure, a psychological strategy to reclaim control by dodging reality. And here's the cruel twist. You were trained to overfunction, to explain, to hold space for chaos. So even in their absence, you stay emotionally present. That's the trap, a trap called ambiguous loss, grieving someone who's alive but unreachable, a wound without a funeral, a bond without a goodbye. But to escape this trap, we need to stop trying to make sense of the silence, and instead enter the ghoster's mind. That's where we go next. You think ghosting is about apathy, but that would be easy. This is fear. Fear of confrontation. Fear of being seen. Fear of their own emotional reflection. Ghosting isn't a lapse in decency. It's an emotional defense mechanism. They don't vanish because you were unworthy. They vanish because you were real. Too real. You reflected something they couldn't carry. Vulnerability, presence, accountability. And that kind of reflection burns. So they ghost to protect their ego, to dodge discomfort, to avoid exposure. Ghosting becomes a way to control the narrative without confronting their flaws. It's not rejection, it's emotional cowardice. They choose disappearance over dialogue because staying would mean growth, and growth demands pain. But here's where the truth turns sharp. They didn't ghost because of who you are. They ghosted because of who they aren't ready to become. And that silence, it's their unfinished business, not your identity. So the question becomes, why are you still asking broken mirrors for clarity? Let's unpack that now. But first, how do you heal from ghosting? You stop chasing closure from someone who chose absence over honesty. Closure is not a favor, it's a boundary. If you have to beg for it, it's not closure, it's continued self-betrayal. And that ends now. You stop reading silence as proof of your unworthiness. You stop rewriting the story to make their exit make sense. Because ghosting isn't a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of their emotional capacity. Yes, it hurts. But your grief is proof you were present, that you showed up with real intention in a world addicted to disappearing. Don't numb that grief. Use it. Let it forge stronger boundaries. Let it sharpen your awareness. Because the person who ghosted you, they weren't your punishment. They were your permission. Permission to stop performing emotional labor for the emotionally unavailable. And one more thing. You must confront the part of you that feels safer in rejection than in peace. Because ghosters don't just vanish from your life. They trigger the wounds you haven't healed. And those wounds, they don't need closure. They need you to stop ghosting yourself. There's a moment where the spiral stops. Not because they came back, but because you came back to you. This isn't apathy, it's power. The pain doesn't disappear. It crystallizes into wisdom. Ghosting no longer feels like rejection. It feels like removal. A spiritual unsubscribe from someone who wasn't equipped to hold your depth. And now, you hold your own. This is individuation, the process Jung described as becoming whole. Not hard, not closed, just self-owned. You stop seeking approval. You start seeking alignment. You stop over-explaining. You start protecting your energy like it's sacred, because it is. This isn't just about them disappearing. It's about you reappearing, reclaiming presence, cutting the loop, ending the chase. The real transformation doesn't come from being ghosted. It comes from becoming someone who no longer ghosts themselves. Because the worst ghosting isn't what they did. It's what you do when you abandon yourself to be loved. That ends here. You don't disappear anymore. You choose presence for you. Always for you. If this hit home, don't stay silent. Type it in the comments. I choose presence. Let's see how many of us are done ghosting ourselves. Subscribe if you're ready to stop chasing silence and start reclaiming your voice.